Hey guys, Gareth97 again with part 4 already of the Q&A slash Ask Me Anything thingy I've got going on. And today we're gonna start off with the remaining questions of Sweeton629. And the second question was, if you have to choose between the PS4 and Xbox One, which one do you think will do the best in this generation of gaming? Well, I'm gonna go with the PS4, absolutely. Yeah, there has been some commotion in the past with PlayStation and that thingy, you know, where the online was offline for quite a long time, that security problem, you know, that debacle. But it seems like Microsoft with the Xbox One has been doing the worst lately, especially with that DRM and the always online, the Kinect that always has to be on there. And I've heard rumors about Microsoft even releasing an Xbox without the Kinect attached to it. So I think the Xbox One is hurting. It's not selling as much as the PS4. The only reason the Xbox One is now catching on is because Titanfall was released. And one game I don't think is going to save, because then the PS4 is just going to get its special game, and then that's going to say the and then PS4 is going to shoot up again. So I think Microsoft really shot themselves in the foot right before their console was released. So definitely gonna go with PS4 here, which is also what I'm gonna buy. I've had a 360 last gen, and you know, the more time went on, the more I regretted buying the damn thing. Region locked, you know, all the Gundam games came out on the PS3, and this year I'm therefore gonna buy a PS3 for cheap. When will just depend on whenever I can find a good deal on a PS3, either used or new. I'll figure that one out as things go. So yeah, I'm absolutely putting my money on the PlayStation 4. So yeah, there we go. Then 3, when do you think the Naruto and One Piece manga will end? No idea. I currently follow neither one of those. I've seen 50 episodes of Naruto. I think I should pick it up. And as for One Piece, yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it, but aren't they already at like 500 episodes or something? So, kind of don't feel like catching up on that much stuff. But in all seriousness, as far as I know, One Piece is kind of like The Simpsons in the West. I think they're just going to keep on going until people have gotten tired of it, which is not in the foreseeable future. And I think Naruto is going to be pretty much the same. Then 5th question, why do Japanese people censor genitalia but they have no problem with the very, very weird stuff in pornography? Is it a cultural thing? Now, 2 things about this question. First of all, I have absolutely no idea why you think I would know anything about that. Second remark I have to make about that is that I actually do know that. Yes, I do know why Japanese people censor genitalia, and nobody's gonna believe my excuse. I had to learn about that. I learned about that in a Japanese culture class. Honest. Cross my fingers. Oh no, wait, that was not. I swear that that's the reason why. Anyways, moving on to why they have to censor that. I can't believe we're getting into this, but it's actually required by Japanese law. That's all there is to it. It's required by law, and, well, I'm pretty sure most of you are laughing now at the crazy Japanese lawmakers and why would they make such a law? Who comes up with such a law? And if you're American, you might want to stop laughing right about now, because the Americans made the law. Remember, World War II, Japan lost, the Americans came along and imposed a bunch of sanity laws. I think that was the good way of calling them. You know, they banned a lot of things like imperialistic stuff, and along the way, being the puritanicals they were, they immediately also demanded that they would censor that. So yeah, the question, why is it still in place? Well, I don't think there's ever going to be a politician that's going to run on uncensoring the porn. You know, that's probably not the best thing for a politician to do for his political career. And as for the very, very weird stuff in pornography, let's just call that uniqueness, and the reason they do that is probably the same thing as why they do weird things in marketing. You know, weird things sell, and it's the same thing as with a YouTube video. If it's weird, you're gonna send it to all your friends, like, hey, watch this weird video. It's so funny, it's so weird, and you know, that kind of stuff, I guess, is just very popular. Anyways, let's go on with a more normal thing. Question 6. What are your top 5 UC Gundam series? And this is of course not a very easy question to answer because at the moment Gundam Unicorn hasn't finished yet, and so far that's a really great series. And then next year, if I'm not mistaken, 2015, we're gonna get Gundam the Origin. And if I'm not mistaken, the next Reconquista in G, I kind of forgot the title, you know, the new Gundam series directed by Yoshiyuki Tono. I think that's also supposed to have some kind of link with the Universal Century, even though it is an alternate universe series. I think it's set sometime after the Universal Century, though if that's pure fan speculation or if that's actual confirmed information, I'm not sure. But let's try to get on with this list. So on the number 1 spot is without a doubt the original Gundam movies. I think I've said this a lot of times already. I really like the Gundam movies, much better than the series. I think I've already gone into depth in this, so I'll quickly go over the main reason why I prefer the movies over the series. One big reason, they're less super robotish. They simply took out all of those super robot-esque elements. The Gundam doesn't have the G Fighter. I mean, that is just Super Robot 101. You have your normal mech, which is supposed to have a gigantic advantage, suddenly transformed into a tank, which, according to the Gundam universe, has a gigantic disadvantage. So why you'd want to do that, I don't know. Also, you apparently have, the G-Fighter is essentially a flying tank in that aspect. So the only real use for the G-Fighter is either one as a sub-flight system, you know, a flight platform so that the Gundam can stand on it and it gives the Gundam some limited flight capabilities like the Dodai Kai, Dodai YS, and so on and so forth, or as a dedicated transport thing, plane-ish, you know, with the Gundam inside of it. But then once the Gundam arrives at the battlefield, he'll simply come out and use it as a sub-flight system. None of those gimmicky transformation things. But let's go on to number 2. And this is why I said this is going to be a bit difficult with Unicorn, because number 2 currently is going to go for 0083. It's the Top Gun of Gundam, has some of the most kick-ass Gundam design, well, Jim designs out there. We've got the Jim Custom, we've got the Jim Quell, and really, thanks to the Jim Quell and Gundam 0083, we have Advance of Zeta and all of those fantastic mobile suits that we got in Advance of Zeta. So really, 0083 definitely deserves the top 2 spot, but it's gonna share it with an honorary mention of Gundam Unicorn because that hasn't been completed yet, and I think the final episode was gonna air on May 17th or somewhere around that. So the real ranking of Gundam Unicorn is gonna have to wait until then, because right now, who knows what goes down in episode 7. Then number 3 is gonna go to the fan favorite Zeta Gundam. You know, it's Gundam, but it's a hell of a lot more. The reason why I prefer the original Gundam over the Zeta Gundam is because the original Gundam has much more lore going around it. There's a lot more of the side story, so that's really what makes the 1 Year War more interesting than Zeta Gundam. Though in recent years, Zeta Gundam has definitely gotten its share of side stories. We have all the Advance of Zeta stuff going on. There is the Charles the Lead Affair manga. Of course, how could I forget about that? So definitely want to mention that as one of my favorite manga series of all time. Then number 3, then on to number 4, and this is of course where things get a bit more difficult when we're limiting ourselves to just the animes. I think I'm gonna go with Char's Counterattack here. That was definitely a great movie. And, you know, you had a final epic battle between Char and Amuro. You have the Jagan that got introduced. Then on 5th place, bit difficult because, well, I'm gonna go for the 8 Mobile Suit Team. And why I say that's a bit difficult for me to pick this is because of that final episode. not gonna give any spoilers here, but that final episode just killed it. You know, the whole series is really nice, realistic. Shiro could have been a bit more realistic and less, you know, idealistic in my opinion, but I can let that slide easily. But that last episode, it just felt wrong. I mean, it didn't follow the style of the whole anime itself. And to just wrap it up on that note seemed a bit off. I think that last episode should have just been a different series, like a spin-off or something, you know, a side story, but not part of the actual series. If it wasn't for that, I think Gundam, the ADMS team, as a series would have been a whole lot better. But alas, but still, gets the 5th place on here. I'm gonna make one honorable mention, and that is, come on, unselected, there we go, and that is Double Zeta Gundam. This is often looked upon as the black sheep, but the final half of the series is really, really good. And well, the final half, maybe even the final 3/4 of it, and just that first 25% is really horrible, but other than that, it's really a solid series. Of course, we cannot forgive the Moon stuff that's going on, and if you don't know what Moon is, be glad that you don't know it. And if you decide to watch Double Zeta Gundam, on the slightest mention of Moon, run for the hills. Skip the episode. That's really the best you can do. Moving on. Top 5 alternate AC. I see what you did wrong there. AC is after Colony. I guess you mean alternate universe. So, alternate universe series. Well, top 1 is gonna be Gundam X. For simple reason, I really love the setup they have there, and it really is an alternate universe. It's an alternate story to what could have happened at the end of the 1-year war. Like, you know, an alternative to Zeta Gundam. Heck, you could just watch the original Gundam series, change a few things, and pretend that Gundam X is a sequel. Then my second favorite one, I'm just gonna throw Gundam Seed, Destiny, and Stargazer on one giant heap, because otherwise that's probably just gonna clutter everything up. With Stargazer being my favorite, you know, pretty much because the lead Gundam was awesome, the story was much better than Seed and Seed Destiny. Then Destiny will be the second one of that list then, on second place. You know, pretty much characters, one in particular, and most of the time was also fucking awesome. Now we just have Seed, because that was actually still a watchable series, unlike Gundam Seed Destiny. Then, number 3 on my list, Gundam Build Fighters, no doubt about it. The series hasn't finished yet, but it's just the way, you know, I just love Gundam Build Fighters. It has to be on there then. Number 4, and I think we're already kind of running out of alternate universes here, because let's see, we got G Gundam, Gundam Wing, Gundam Nolo, well, Gundam H. Well, actually, Gundam H wasn't that bad. Technically, I guess. And then, well, Gundam Wing technically has that nostalgia value, so I'm going to put Gundam Wing on number 4 for the nostalgia, and then I'll put, you know what, hell with it, Gundam H, and I think I should maybe watch 00 before I say this, but yeah, Gundam 00 at the moment still doesn't really interest me that much. I should really give that another shot, so maybe that will change in the future once I've watched it again. But then again, the second season really killed it, so did the movie. 5th place goes to Gundam Age. Then, with the 00 series now getting real grace, how many online exclusives do you think we'll get? A lot, of course. You know, it's Gundam 00. The first online exclusives that are, well, I would have said is Transam, but apparently they're going for the X repair something something. But they're totally all gonna get their Transam versions as online exclusive. And then the X in particular is also gonna get that rollout color. And didn't they also have those designer color things going on? So that's definitely gonna be one as well. And then moving on. Do you think Bandai will continue to do more remastered versions for Seed and Seed Destiny line of master grades? Well, for Destiny, no, because those model kits are already past the 2.0 line and are plenty good enough. Then as for the Gundam Seed series, I would say that the Freedom's going to get a remastered version because that master grade was a bit iffy. And, you know, it had a lot of room for improvement, especially with modern day technology. And then, you know, we might just get a Justice. And, well, then the question is, should we call that a remaster or just a new thing? But you know what I mean. So that's probably gonna get one eventually. I'm not gonna say in the near future. That's definitely gonna be for the Freedom. But other than that, no. And Gundam Seed Destiny, definitely not. Then, do you think Wing Endless Waltz and Wing Zero Endless Waltz will ever get a new release? No. That's the very simple answer. Because, you know, the Wing Endless Waltz actually... No, the Endless... Oh, wait. Yes, the Wing Endless Waltz already had gotten his re-release, and along with the other wings, and he just got an extra connector. So, not in the near future, let's put it like that. Maybe eventually, but we've seen a lot of Gundam Wing model kits recently, so I don't think they're gonna do that. What do you do? Number 10, what do you do for a living? Oh yeah, I answered that one last time. Then, 11, what are your thoughts on global warming and how we're seeing a lot of snowstorms lately and sometimes in places that typically never get snow at all? Is this the end of the world or is Mother Nature is coming back soon? Well, I think that global warming is definitely a thing. And, you know, I kind of don't know if you're being sarcastic with the snow because, you know, it's that typical stupid argument of, no, global warming isn't happening because we're getting a dead snowstorm, and you know, all that kind of stuff. And then you remind people that it's not just about global warming, it's really more about irregular weather patterns. In Belgium, we're actually getting the opposite. We haven't had any snow at all this year. Well, at least not where I live, other than this one time when there was melting snow, which looked more like rain than snow. So, and actually, I think they once said on the news that this winter, ever since they started recording the temperatures of winter, or just in general, this was the top record. This broke all the records of warm winter. So I would say there's definitely something going on, and if we don't get our shit together, shit is definitely gonna get real, and we're all gonna be screwed. So the thing here is that this snow stuff, and I think that they should also stop calling it global warming, because, you know, then you're just going to get those stupid reactions of, hey, there's a lot of snow. Global warming obviously isn't happening. That's not the way it works. I guess I could spend a few hours going a bit more in depth, because the thing is, if, you know, solar rays come in more easily now when you have that hole in the ozone layer, but they also come out a lot easier. So that means that at the same time, you have more intense heat rays coming in, but also more heat leaving. So at the same time, you have warming, but at the same time, you also have cooling. So both of them can happen depending on where you live. As evidenced here in America, there are a lot of snowstorms. Over here, it's been warm as hell for the time of the year. Of course, it's not really super warm, but we're getting temperatures that we got temperatures in the winter, which are usually like the best temperatures we get in spring. So yeah, global warming is definitely happening. Then number 12, if you had, oh, I really like this one. If you had to choose between Gunpla, manga, anime, and gaming, which one would you choose if that one you chose is the only fun hobby thing you can do and you'd have to give up the others for the rest of your life? My instant gut reaction would be to say Gunpla, because, you know, I built a lot of Gunpla, but when I thought about it a bit more, I'd have to go with gaming. Because my instant reaction is, when I don't have anything to do, is pop out the old PS Vita, PSP, DS, or my Game Boy. You know, when I'm on the train, I'll grab one of those and, you know, I'll pause the time that way. And unfortunately, Gunpla isn't really something you can do on the train. You know, catching Pokemons on the train is much more practical to do. And yes, I do actually play my Game Boy Color on the train. You gotta spend some time if you want to catch all 151 Pokemons. So yeah, that's gotta go with gaming. And then, on second place, I would actually be kind of conflicted. Gunpla or manga? I think I'm gonna go second with Gunpla, third manga with that, and then anime would be all the way at the bottom, unfortunately. So yeah, definitely I would go with gaming. And you know what, let's expand the question a bit. What would you guys pick? Gunpla, gaming, anime, manga? Leave a comment down below. Then 13, the final question. What are some SDs, monster grades, real grades, high grades, and perfect grades you wish we would see in the near future? SDs, well, not really up on all that. I think I've answered the question like this a while back. Anyways, let's go over this quickly again, because, you know, for high grades, I know I missed a few. Mainly the Dagger and the Gundam series. You know, totally misses out. Arrow Dodger pointed out, and usually I always rag on and on about how we need the Daggers and the Gundams. Totally forgot about those. As for monster grades, you know, J-Gun, Gem, Sniper 2. Perfect grades, well, I would like a Gem as a perfect grade, but that's definitely not going to happen. Or a J-Gun, that's also never going to happen. Maybe the Freedom would be nice to see as a perfect grade, or maybe the Exia. Though, well, that's not really a wish I have, so yeah, I'm not really wishing for any more realistic perfect grades. You know, the only perfect grades I would wish for are the unrealistic ones. Gym Sniper 2, Power Gym, Gym Quell, Gym Custom, because yeah, those are never gonna happen. And before we move on to the next question, quickly want to make a retcon on one of the previous questions I answered in this video actually, and that is the top 5 alternate universe Gundam series. On 3, I'm now gonna put G Gundam. I just kind of realized this during one of the transitions that I thought, you know what, G Gundam was actually really good, and it kind of slipped my mind when I was making the list. So on number 3 is G Gundam, which means that the others will be moved one step down, and Gundam H is now gonna fall out. Because, you know, G Gundam is also really one of those alternate universes. Completely whack, but completely fun at the same time. And what I really liked about G Gundam is that at the surface, it looks like it's Dragon Ball Z with Gundam, but actually it still has all of those core Gundam elements, but just with that super robot paint on it. Even though, as we said in the first episodes, it got kind of redundant that he was able to end all the battles with his, what was it, Shining Finger, I think. You know, whenever he pulled out his super move, the battle was immediately over. But near the end, the story really got going. So now, moving on to Sinanju Jaeger's question, what got you into Gunpla? And this is also a really good question. Doesn't really have a short answer because, you know, the way I got into Gunpla is, well, quite a long story. So let's immediately jump into it. And I know a lot of other Gunpla reviewers, at least a lot of the more popular ones, got into Gunpla and Gundam via Transformers. I, however, got into Gunpla completely different. So now, as far as toys and things I used to play with, I, as a kid, was really into Lego. So for me, transitioning from Lego into Gunpla was really very easy, and that's kind of the way it went. So the more I got into Gundam, of course, the more I got into Gunpla, and it was very related to Lego, so that's kind of how it went from that to Gundam. Though, in the beginning, I never really, well, when I started building Gunpla, I wasn't super into it. So what really got me into Gunpla was the moment I realized that anime was a thing. And at that, you know, it was like, at one point I started thinking about all of those old cartoons I really loved as a kid, and it turned out that a lot of them were actually anime. To name a few of the obvious ones, we had Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, hint hint, we had Sailor Moon, oh yeah, Hamtaro also actually, really liked that as a kid, and then, well, I did just mention Sailor Moon, and well, yeah, of course we have Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and those other series. So I noticed that a lot of those were actually Japanese anime, and once I realized that that was a thing, I also discovered this store which actually sold a lot of the anime, which sold a lot of anime-related things. And they also carried the original Gundam movies and Gundam Seed. And those are like the two things that really got me started into Gunpla. So it started out slow. I had a few random models. I actually built the Jim Kai and the Galgu Cannon before I even knew what they were. which is also why I love the gym so much, because my first encounter with a gym was the Gym Kai space type. So that's really how I got into Gunpla. It kind of started from Lego, and then as I grew to love anime and as I started to love Gundam, you know, thanks to the original Gundam movies and Gundam Seed, that's really the way I got into Gunpla. Then now moving on with Gira MSV's questions. The first one, do you tend to have an introverted or extroverted personality? I'm more of an introvert, but when I'm around friends, I do have more of an, I'm kind of extroverted. So I have this different, you know, when I'm around people I don't really know, I come across as more of a shy and closed-off person, but once I start talking and I get engaged with the person and I really, and I become friends with them, really, if I just start talking to someone, I kind of open up. So it's like I have this kind of this aura towards other people that I'm more of an introverted person. But really, once I start talking, especially, you know, if I suddenly realize that they're also into anime or they're into games or they just have some kind of hobby that I can relate to, video games, anime, manga, or if they're just into similar things, you know, they're into comics as well, but they're into other comics, or they're into other model kits, you know. Earlier in the day I had a conversation with a guy who used to be into the Lord of the Rings, the miniature game. So, you know, I had a conversation about model kit building. So that's really the kind of way I am. Though I have to say that I'm not really fond of big groups, especially not big groups with people that I don't really know. So if, let's give an example here, the way my personality works is if I'm with someone I don't really know and I'm kind of, you know, just hanging around with him because classes were happening and there's something, and he meets a group, or he or she meets a group of his friends, and I realize that they don't really have a lot in common, I will usually back away and find some kind of excuse to get out of there. Because I do prefer smaller groups, especially with friends, so I guess I do tend to be more introvert than extroverted. But, so the thing is, I like to be alone, but I also like to be around a few friends. Then, thoughts on the afterlife. Well, as the founder and currently only member of the Church of Gundamtology, I believe in the eternal Gunpla in the sky. But now, for seriousness, I don't really think too much about this kind of stuff, to be honest, because it's kinda something we can't know. Which means that in real life, I'm kind of a cross between an agnostic and a Catholic. No, not a Catholic, a Christian. Because, you know, Catholics I've kind of lost my faith in Catholics with a lot of the things happening with them. You know, a lot of scandals. In Belgium, there have been some scandals going on with the Catholic Church being very friendly towards little children. You know, you can fill in friendly however you want. So they have done a great job of covering up for those priests. But yeah, that wasn't really... I think I'm getting a bit off topic here. So, the thing is, I'm a cross between an agnostic and a Christian, so that's kind of the way I tend to go, you know, kind of heaven-ish, maybe a bit of reincarnation. Like I said, I'm a bit all over the place. And I do sometimes wonder about what is, but I don't really have this specific idea of what's gonna happen, which is why definitely I have this agnostic side about me, and I kind of wonder what it's gonna be like. I hope there's gonna be something. So yeah, that's really all about it. And then number 3, why not the best question to end this video? We've already talked about pornographic material, so let's end it with number 3, boobs or butt? Well, I don't want to give this cutesy answer. Well, I don't want to make my answer seem like this cutesy thing, but not really. Either of them are that important to me. I don't really care about that as long as, you know, she's kind of cute and pretty. That's really, I'm focused more on the face. And I know this comes across as, oh, so mellow and cutesy and this and that, but, you know, it's just as objectifying as either looking at one of those two things, because, you know, that's the way I think about it. And I had this conversation with a friend of mine, and you know, actually it's that guy I did the Melee tournament with, and he felt the exact same thing. You know, if her face doesn't look good, what good are either of those things? So really, the first thing I'm gonna go for is the face, and then second one, the boobs. Because, you know, I gotta answer that question as well. And that, well, I think is a good note to end this video, and now I might have to put an 18+ on this, because, you know, we've talked about pornographic material, we've talked about Catholic priests being very friendly towards children, and now we've ended one with a great question. And sorry, Gear MSV, if I kinda turned your questions into if I went in places that might not have been that appropriate for your questions, so I apologize for that. Either way, it seems like once again I haven't been able to answer that many questions in one video, and I think we're getting close to half an hour, or did we already go overboard? Either way, let's... Oh no, wait. Maybe we'll quickly end with another question, because when I was scrolling down, I saw this one question, which I quickly want to deal with at the end. See to your left. Oh, there we go. Mr. Bonks 718. Can I really ask you anything? So I just want to answer this question to prevent me from answering this one in the future and just saying yes. Because, you know, yes, you can really ask me anything. And here's the deal. The comments are still open, so if you still have a question that hasn't been answered yet, post it right now, because if you post it now, it will still be answered in a future video. And that goes for anyone. If you still think, hey, I still have this question, or I want to, you know, ask something else, post your questions on this, I want to say this video, but on the Ask Me Anything video where you had to submit your questions. Not on this video you're watching right now. I'll put an annotation link right here. So, Mr. Bonks, don't forget to post your question on the video, and if anyone else still has any other questions, definitely ask them here. And it seems like this thing is already going to go quite overboard. You know, I think we might even end up at part 10 at this rate. But that's all for this video. See you guys next time.